So this tutorial is how to take a photo that you cut up in Photoshop and animate it in After Effects. So double click in your project, go to the file, which is layers PSD, say open. You don't want to do footage, you want to do composition, retain layer sizes, say OK. It's going to give us a comp, and then the two layers are here. We're not going to use this comp, we're going to put it in a smaller comp. So we're going to click the new comp right here. HD 1920 1080 5 seconds. I'll just call this 3D. Say OK. Just drag the background in, and then where it says source name, click layer name. Click on the layer, hit return, call that background, and then drag the guy in. And then you just want to click on that, just call him guy. So now what we're going to do is put this in 3D space. That's what we have here. And we want to make sure that we're in Classic 3D. So Classic 3D is the engine that you want to be in. That's the default. So once we did this, right, you'll see now we have active camera in one view. What we need to do is change this one view to two view. And then you'll see there's top and active camera. And I'm using the middle scroll wheel to change the sizes here. So if I click on this left view here, this left area, you'll see it says top. So I could change this from top to active camera or something else, right? A different view. So I'm going to say top here, and over here I just want to make sure that we're on active camera. So active camera, you want to see at least one angle. That's really what you're creating, right? So right now they're on the same place, right? They're the same distance from the camera. So what makes this work is parallax. What that is layers that are different distance from the camera. When you animate the camera, they move at different speeds. And so we're going to go to the background and just grab your selection tool and click on Z and push that back like that, right? And now I can select the guy, and I can also click and move him around. Now you can also select the layer here and hit P for position and do that here, or over here in the new properties panel, you'll see that I could also do X, which is left and right, Y, which is up and down, and Z is coming closer or further from the camera, right? So I'm just going to pull him closer a little bit, and then I can scale him as needed. And I'm going to pull him over here, right? Just so something like this. So I'm basically just recreating the photo from Photoshop. And if we need to, right, you can see where this layer is. The further you push this back, you're going to have more sense of the parallax. So we've set this up in a 3D space. We need a camera. So layer, new, camera. Cameras, the lower the number is the wider the angle. And so if you go to a smaller number, you're going to have to do less animating. 50 millimeter is considered the normal vision for human eyes. I would say pick something like 20 or 24 here and say OK. And then if I come over here, you'll see that this is actually the camera, and this is how it's seeing things. So I'm just clicking on the Z here and looking at that, right? So we're just kind of setting this up how we want this to be, right? So there's the camera. I'm going to pull the camera up top. And the background needs to be a little bigger, right? So select the background. Again, you can come over here to scale. You can make it bigger, right? Because we took these bigger layers, right, and put it in a smaller comp, so we would have the flexibility to do this. And then go to the guy, and then same thing, we can move him around here. We just want him to kind of fit, right? So we've got something like this. So select your camera, hit P for position, and then hit Shift A for point of interest. And let's just go to where we want it to resolve. So let's say at, I don't know, 3.5 seconds, this is what you want to see. So click the stopwatch for point of interest and position. And then go to the beginning. And now what I'm going to do is grab the camera tool. So these are the camera tools up here. I'm going to grab just this one, the dolly. And you'll see if I hit C that they'll cycle, right? So I'm just going to click like this and go in. So this is all we're going to do, right? We're just taking the camera into the background. And now if I play this, right, it's going to pull back. And we're going to have something like this. And so we also want to add a piece of text to this just to make this more dynamic. Layer, new, text. I'm just going to say something like get outside. Got to make this a 3D layer also, so cameras and lights ignore 2D layers. So I wanted to move this around, and you'll see that layers will block layers. So I want to put it behind him like that. And then I'm going to go to my text, and I'm going to resize it like this. And let's say you want to put a text animator on this, right? Let's say when it's moving here, you want this to kind of start coming in. So let's just figure out how big we want the text to be, where we want it. I don't know, maybe here, and then go down here to add animator. Or if you don't want to build one from scratch, what you can just do is go to Window, Effects and Presets right here. Let me just move this around so we can see this better. So you want to go to Animation Presets here. Presets, you want to go to Text. And we're going to go to Text, Animate In, and I'm just going to do Fade Up Characters. So wherever the playhead is, when I double click, that's going to apply that. And then if I select that layer and hit U, I can see the keyframe. So by default, it's a 2-second animation. So I just shortened it. So let's just see what this does. Okay. And we could play with the timing of this. You know, I'm just kind of getting a feel for this as I do it. Let's just pull these down. Something like that. You could lasso all these, right? Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. Turn on motion blur. You can't motion blur the camera, but you can motion blur all the layers, right? Save this. So this is what we got going here. Just gonna set my work area like this. Now you can keep adding to this. We could bring in like a smoke layer, right? Just to get a little more depth to this. So if we go to Elements and Graphics, let's just grab this Smoke 47. Now it's pretty large, right? It's 4K. I'm going to make it 3D. And then, I can move it around here and then click toggle switches, and you just need to go where it says normal, right? And put this in screen mode. And that's going to drop out the black. So we're just adding in smoke, right, as a texture. That's all we're doing. And depending on where we put this, right, as we move the camera through, right, you'll see something like that. You'll actually move through the smoke. So we're just trying to build, a little scene here. So that's what we have. Little things you can do. You can select the smoke and come over here and type Lumetri for Lumetri color. Double click on it. The smoke's kind of blue, right? So go to basic correction and just take your temperature towards the right, which will warm it up so it doesn't look too blue. And then I'm going to say layer new light. Point light is like a bulb in a closet, and I'm just going to say fall off smooth. I'm going to say OK, and when you do that, you'll see that it's very small. So double click on the point light over here, and I'm just going to make the radius much bigger. And if you hold shift when you do this, it's a lot easier to see. It'll move quicker. So I'm just adjusting that, right? So you can see what this looks like. So no fall off is going to be kind of flat, and then when you add the fall off, it just looks better, I think. You don't have to do it, but I just wanted to show people that. So I'm just adjusting the radius holding shift. And you can kind of vignette it depending on what you want it to look like, right? And then it's OK. And then go back and say layer new light again. This time you want to add what's called an ambient. And an ambient is what we would call a fill light in the real world, right? It doesn't really exist, just bouncing around. So I'm going to make that like 40% or something. You could go to the ambient light and maybe you make it a little cool, just a little light blue or something. And then you could go to your point light and add some warmth to that. And so this gives us kind of a basic scene. And if we play this, I've got motion blur on, so it's just taking a bit of time to show us this. But that's what we've done. So we cut up a photo and then we brought it in After Effects and we animated it.